Perfect.
We're lucky we have a Goldcast member in our group, our panel.
Sorry, I saw the countdown. I was like, we got to get out there.
Where did you see the countdown?
At the bottom next to our profile pictures, you'll see the 52, 51, 50.
Oh my gosh,
49.
missed that baby.
Yeah, and then also if you hover over the screen once it's live, you also see the countdown right now on the bottom left, but it will do the countdown once it's live too if you want that as a timer.
Okay, and so when it says when do I get the signal that we're live?
It's going to say live to the left of building on the bottom left when it's live in 26 seconds.
Okay, and then I'll just get started.
Yes, you will.
Excellent. Yay, yay, yay.
So do we say bad words? Are we allowed to say bad words?
Please don't do that.
Okay.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us for an impactful conversation about building community in a digital world. I'm your moderator, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion and host of the Startup Life Live Show. This panel discussion will bring you terrific strategies, insights, and advice for building and cultivating an online community. This is an important strategy for many startups in order to provide a meaningful and valuable connection with their customers, which will result in greater traction for their new business. So before we begin our conversation, let's meet these amazing, esteemed panelists of community builders. Stephanie Roulic, get going there. Tell us all about yourself.
Hey. So my name is Stephanie Roulic. I'm the founder of Startup Boston, and Startup Boston is a community of volunteer organizers that have created a community for the startup ecosystem here in Boston and the greater Boston area. So really excited to be chatting with you.
Yay. And Rodrigo, and be sure to share where you're hailing from too, Rodrigo.
Hey, hello. I'm speaking from Brazil currently, and I'm very excited to be here with all of you. My name is Rodrigo Baez, and I'm the founder of Macau Business. We help companies establish operations in Brazil and Mexico, and currently we're developing a virtual hub that is focused on identifying and exploring synergies between companies around the world. So a lot of community in there. So very, very excited to speak with all of you. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's great. And Kevin.
Hey, my name is Kevin. I'm the owner of 3 Circles Studio. We create amazing headshots focusing on kick-ass experience. So the entire experience is helping people who don't want to take pictures ever to have a picture where they can then show off their presence in the digital world, especially now where we're all online. And so I also do that as well as other corporate photography. And I love everything I'm doing. So I'm glad to be here with you guys to talk about.
Oh, we feel your passion every time we see you and every time you communicate online. And I want to remind folks, please link in with all of us. And if you have any questions, post them into the chat room, because we're here to serve you with this great information. So let's begin with Stephanie. I mean, Stephanie has, I believe, the hardest job of building community, because she has built a community through her all volunteer organization, Startup Boston Week. Take it away, Stephanie, and let us know how you have built community.
Definitely. So I founded Startup Boston back in early 2017. The reason why I founded it was because I was a new founder of a MarTech startup. I had no idea what I was doing, but also I did not know anyone in the startup community. So I really created Startup Boston because I wanted a community of entrepreneurs and startup employees and mentors and advisors to really lean on during that journey. Building a startup is very lonely, as some of us know. So I really wanted to go and build that for myself. So that's really why I started out building that community. And then slowly over the past few years, we're going into year 6, I found more and more people that were willing to really donate their time to also go give back to the startup ecosystem. And we're also equally excited about really building community here in Boston, and also building a community for startup founders, employees, mentors, investors, students, anyone interested in really helping a startup both start and also scale. So we went from one person, myself, to about 43 full-time volunteers. They really volunteer their time 10 months a year, year round. It's great. I love them. They are amazing. And I'll really say, like, over the past few years, I learned a lot about building community. But the really big thing I've learned is, like, you should always focus honestly on what content you're creating for your community in mind. A lot of us tend to look at numbers. We're like, okay, for this conference, how many people am I getting? Like, for this conference specifically, that might be something in the back of the mind of an organizer, for example. And I think the minute you kind of take a step back and you don't worry so much about the numbers, but rather what you're covering and what value you're providing to people, and really making sure that the people you want to attract, you're creating content with them in mind, you are going to have such a strong community. And the numbers don't even matter at that point. And the word of mouth, which is how Startup Boston has gained momentum, because we got no money. We're all volunteers. But really, by concentrating on the content we're providing, on what we really want to make sure we're sharing with the startup community, people just kept referring what we were doing to their friends. And it really helped us create a strong presence in the ecosystem here. And then in 2020, when we went virtual, like many others, it really helped us expand our footprint throughout New England and also New York City. So number one takeaway, when you're building a community, if you're going to remember anything, I'm biased, but I totally think this is worth it. Remember, always think about who you want to attract and make their goals number one for whatever content you're creating, and the rest will do its thing. They will come find you. You obviously need to put some elbow grease into it, but it will come to be. And I think I'm going to leave it at that, Andy.
I got to tell you, I am so excited for so many reasons about this. And I know the crowd is like, yes, Ariel, they're wonderful. And that's because you said something that we tend to focus too much on, which is that the numbers don't matter. It is the content. And what you do, Stephanie, so brilliantly as a leader is that you make everybody feel so valued that they keep wanting to come back. And I think that too is important, an important ingredient in a leader who is building community, is making sure that those who are coming on as speakers feel valued and those who are attending feel really valued. So where's my clapper?
Well, for the record, I value all of them. Start Boston would not exist if people did not want to volunteer their time, energy, and didn't want to support it. So
that's right.
Love all of you.
Oh, that's a great shout out to our wonderful community here. So Rodrigo, you have lived in 5 different countries, plus you were part of an indigenous community. How have you built your global community?
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you again, and yeah, I think a lot of why I am building a community right now, it really has to do on my experiences throughout my life. Just like you said, I had the opportunity to live in different countries, the opportunity to live with different cultures, and I realized that to my life has really given me and a lot more joy in seeing things. I think it's a lot better when you understand all the complexity that life is. That understand that depending on where you're located, to look at the eyes in someone, or it could be a bad habit or something like that. Understanding that people have their differences. Nonetheless, community is a phenomenon that it's amazing. I think that this willingness of humans to participate in something, it's quite beautiful. And I started mine when I first began, working with internationalization. I initially wanted to join, these chambers, innovation hubs, a lot of spaces, that had, communities, things like that. But I was very frustrated when I realized that a lot of those places, they say that they're very collaborative. They're, they want your best, but actually they're limited to their own place, especially when you want to go abroad and have different opportunities in business and other things. So when I was, with this frustration, I'm sorry, sometimes I get quite, emotional about it because it's something that is very close to my heart. It was the problem. Me as a businessman, I wanted to connect. I wanted to know more companies, reach out further. But the ones that I was looking for, they wouldn't bother to open the doors for me. So I understood that what if we can create a community, with a common purpose? I think that technology today has come to allow us to do meaningful connections, just as Stephanie said and Andy said. It's not about the numbers, rather it's the quality. Hello, Steve. Rather the quality of the people that is there. For instance, I'm amazed by this connection that I made for Steve, that is right here in this panel right now. I met him online, and we created such a great bond. So why not we do that, but for exploring synergies? A lot of companies miss out a lot of opportunities just because they don't have access to good connections. So what we're doing is bringing this concept of the hubs to a metaverse, in an ambient where people will actually be there and will be willing to connect. And since we're using technology, we're really just a couple of clicks away from everybody. So if I can say, one very big challenge and one big takeaway that kind of go together for me is that building a community is quite hard, and it takes a lot of work. But it is also a leap of faith. So if you are connecting, if you are going to invest your time with other people, maybe have a common purpose. I think that it's beautiful, the power of connection, and I believe that true communities that have longevity, really go with those lines. So thank you very much.
Oh, can you guys just feel his deep sincerity and genuine feelings for caring about that connection? Like, I really want to know you. I really want to break down the doors and the barriers that have kept people from connecting or getting through, and creating that really important community. I love that. And I'm going to just bring out the clapper for that too. Way to go, Rodrigo. That's wonderful. Kevin, folks who are in Boston, how much we adore Kevin. You talk about open door policy. I mean, this is the man who just loves to just come on in, let's go, and help people feel so good about who they are. And, and you just love that connection that you can create. So tell us about why you got into building a community and what's important to you.
Yes, absolutely. When a lot of the community is being built on LinkedIn. And when I first started, I think like anybody else when I started business, they just wanted sales, they just wanted people. So I started spamming everybody on LinkedIn, like connect. And I got put in LinkedIn jail for days and sometimes weeks at a time. And I couldn't connect with anybody. And then I realized that as I started to grow and understand like the value of the business, it's not really about having lots and lots and lots of people to buy stuff from you, but having people around you who is an audience who then cares and loves the brand. And then I started to really cultivate that, because that seemed to be what's important, to really build a connection to everybody. And it also was just an extension of who I was formerly as a teacher, where I just really wanted to help other people learn, grow, and be successful. And that's actually part of one of my values now as a business, is to see other people be successful. And so on LinkedIn, what I did was every time I posted something to be a little bit different, I told a story of the people that I took a picture of, and that kind of placed that person on a pedestal to be like, see how important this person is. And then when someone connected by reacting, I would then request a connection to them and thank them for their reaction, thank them for their comment, because with the algorithm, it spreads my message out further and further to build a large community of other people who care about the same thing that I do. What I've learned on LinkedIn is when I post stuff about vulnerability. So when I read the books by Brene Brown, in sharing about the entrepreneurial journey, stuff that Gary Vee talks about, which is like documenting, not creating. It started to really appeal to a lot of people. In the stories, fortunately, was stuff that I cared about as well, where it was about the journey as opposed to like just the top 1% successes all the time. I post things about my failures, of my client failures that I've learned from, where I've completely messed up, where I put my greed of cash, sometimes that happens, more important than the customer experience. And I had to be talked down to by my coaches. And then when I learned that, I was like, this is important, and I want to share that with others, so that they can learn about that as well. And so that's part of my journey of growing on LinkedIn, and then helping other people. And then people start to resonate with that. And as they start to resonate with that, they start to share, and they start to comment even further, and they bring more people into this, into my tribe. Other things that, other books that are really great is Made to Stick, and is telling stories, being unconventional, being concrete, and then sharing vulnerabilities of successes and failures. And that's a community of people who also love that kind of stuff as well. And then right around the start of the pandemic, I had a child, so I got to start talking about my child a lot. And that opened up a whole world of talking to other parents, and who can also relate, of work from home and then parenting. And that was a lot to talk about. That was a big struggle there. And then we started to share tips and tricks with each other of what we're doing to be sane, and also be productive, and also continue to care and love for our families.
You've brought up so many incredible points, Kevin. A couple of takeaways. First of all, is your generosity of spirit. So in creating community, it's also about talking about what's important to you, but also your missteps, and just being really generous about all of that information out there, not carefully scripted information put out and coiffed and made to look so beautiful. And also starting conversations that have nothing to do with your brand. Brilliant, because that's when you find out really great information about people, and you can talk about, how about that voice contestant, right? And you get all of that. It's wonderful. How about Leia? Hello, Leia, are we still here? Okay, we don't. So I am going to, while we wait, as always, live technology makes things so exciting. I have a show twice a week, and let me tell you, it just brings that wonderful Broadway play type of excitement to it.
I was going to say, love that show. People know it's not pre-recorded. We got this.
That's right. And that's it. We know how to flow with this, because I want to come back to you, Stephanie, because I didn't hear why you woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm going to create a Startup Week Boston. I'm called to do that. A lightning bolt came down and said, you are the chosen one. You're going to go make this happen. Folks, this is a lot of work. I mean, she doesn't just do it for one day. It is for days. And it's all volunteer driven. And she's got to get everybody to coordinate the speakers. What compelled you, Stephanie?
Honestly, Andy, I have no idea. I should probably have a better story than that, but I thought it would just be fun.
And folks, that's how things can start. Many businesses started that way.
It would be a fun idea. I was like, I got to meet some people. I have a lot of questions. I'll create events for myself. I know there's other startup weeks in the world. One of my good friends started the one out in San Diego. And I was like, oh, that's so cool that they have it in San Diego. Why don't we have one in Boston? We have so many awesome startups. And literally, I just decided that looked fun, and that I would do it, and that it checked a lot of boxes for growing my own network.
When you think about it, though, because you have to remember, how old were you when you started that, if we can be so bold?
Yeah, I was 25. I'm 30 now, but I was 25 when I started it.
Okay, so don't ever get caged by your age, folks. You're never too young or too old. And here she was, I just want to increase my network. This sounds like fun. I love what that person's talking about. I love what that person's talking about. That is so informative.
Yeah.
Let me come back to Rodrigo. Yay. You have this sincere need, desire that to connect, to have conversations with people. Where do you think that comes from? Because again, folks, as you're building community, you have to tap into your lived experience in order to create the community that's going to be valuable for you.
I think a lot has to do with curiosity. I'm a very curious person. My parents used to tell me quite a lot. I was always those, why is this? Why is that? I always questioned a lot. Thankfully, I've learned how to focus the questions better, because sometimes you don't want to question everything just for the sake of questioning. But that that has that it's a big thing. I think the curiosity, but really the will of that is the why not? Because I I have a certain approach of life of seeing that it not exactly in black and white. That at the same time that we have this beautiful connection that is happening right now with these amazing people, we'll still have a war going on. Not only one in Europe, but several others throughout the world. A balance in life is that, the ultimate beautiful Instagram video, and the one that we don't want to see. So why not use this to approach as much as we can, to the largest number that we can. Yes, I don't expect to convert everybody into being collaborative or connecting with each other, but I believe that now with technology we can make our small little group actually echo throughout the world, and I think that it's beautiful. So that is what really kind of moves me to say, hey, even though that we're not the huge ones, we can still make a fight. So that's what it can.
Yeah, you said that earlier too. We can create joy, right?
Yeah.
That is wonderful. We need more of that. Hey, we've got a great question from Nathan in the crowd here, and he wants to hear from Stephanie how she consistently gets 100% from her volunteers. I got mine on.
It was a learning process. 2017, 2018, those were struggle years. I absolutely love that some people that volunteered during that time still stick it out with me to today. And I'm just so appreciative that like the people that did not do it year over year, like just gave me their time those 2 years, because I was learning as a manager and as a leader. And I mean, we talked about it. I was 25. I had no idea what I was doing. So essentially how I do it now going forward is I create job descriptions and I write up your title, what you're responsible for, and there is an interview process. And during that interview process, I explain this is the commitment. You're committing until October. It is an average of 3 hours a week. There is a monthly stand-up meeting that you're required to attend. And we treat it like a part-time job, and we hold everyone accountable to that. And as a result, everyone that is giving 110%, because it is more than 100, like they are doing this on weekends, at nights, in between, like slots of time that they have. And we hold everyone to that standard. And as a result, everyone respects each other, and we make things happen. But we do treat it like a job.
Brilliant advice there, folks. If you're running a volunteer organization and creating community, delicious. Kevin, another thing that you do really well, and I talked about it earlier, is this open door policy. I mean, you've done a great job on LinkedIn and making connections, but you also, like, people can stop by physically and say hi, yes?
Yeah.
Talk about that. I think that is so cool.
My studio is designed the first half of the studio is designed to look like a living room space. And it's a huge table, which is the centerpiece of the studio. And even just yesterday, I'd done a person from the chamber was like, can I just drop by and just hang out? So he dropped by, and then we talked about systems, and we talked about improving his website and increasing his presence on LinkedIn, because he does translation work. I was like, I mean, that's all the business is. And just kind of like just sat down, and we just did, I think 45, 50 minutes of just brainstorming on how to increase his business and the networks that's around. And, Stephanie has all these huge networks, and like, oh, I remember this speaker, like, here's where we can get started, and then here's the people you can connect to, because it's fun to hear about the passions of other people, and then the next step is how can they scale that to at least a level of where they're not hustling all the time, and that type of excitement and joy is something that I love hearing all the time. So they come in, and we physically get to just go through everything together, or at least one part.
You're like the bartender at the local neighborhood bar. They get to come in, they get to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And
yeah,
I'm going to have to go up there, Kevin. I need to come say hi.
Please. Anybody's welcome. It's a long time here.
And let's say hi to Leia, who's been trying to get in and have a connection. I know that you're calling. Where are you coming in from, Leia? Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to go in. Hi, Karen. Karan Frame, I'd love your thoughts on getting a game show distributed. It's all ready to go once we begin recording next week. Andy, how do you get a game show distributed? I have no thoughts on that at all, but it sounds like a fun time. And of course, the goddess of fun right there, Stephanie.
I mean, I will say, Andy, you are incredibly good at building a community through your own by weekly series. So how about you talk about that?
Okay, well, I'm happy
to relate to it. How did you get that going? How do you keep it going? And what were your
putting
goals?
Andy on the hotspot. I love it.
Oh,
Steph.
wow.
I love it.
Wow. Thank you. We only have 6 minutes left.
We got time. You limited it to 4 for us. You got this. Tell us.
Well, consistency to me is so important in setting up systems and procedures so that you know exactly how you're going to respond to every scenario that comes through. So for me, I'm about to do my 145th live show since April 1st, 2020. And so, you have the templates, you have the outreach to speakers, you have the question, everything is template, it's systems so that you can then bring your spontaneity, your magic, your curiosity, and then know, as Rodrigo was talking and Kevin and Stephanie, that you're helping people. So you're coming from a place of serving the world, helping folks to have, in my case, a better experience. Yeah, I always say we're here to maximize the joy and minimize the heartache of founders' journeys through our conversations, but also, the consistency of how I deliver the show so everybody knows what to expect, whether they're watching on replay or live. I think that would be my big takeaway to give to folks is the level of consistency plus the support and how you deliver everything is a way to help build community.
It's become a staple, I will say, here in the Boston community. We know to look for it.
Thank you. Well, it's fun to talk to people around the world. I know Rodrigo does that as well. And it's just a fun way. I started it because I'm an extrovert. So when we went into quarantine and shut down, I get my batteries refilled, reduced by having conversations with people. So I had to do something. But also to amplify. And in my case, my show is to amplify diverse founder voices. And so that way we can see more representation in every category and every industry of what founders look like and do and achieve under remarkable circumstances. So, and Leia, we're going to just have to have you put everything in writing because you've done a phenomenal job in creating community with startups and media. So I want to encourage everybody who's watching today to be sure to connect with us and everybody that you're meeting today on LinkedIn. Keep building those communities. What are your last thoughts? I'm just going to do a quick roundtable with the group here. Stephanie, a last thought.
Focus on who you're targeting and really put all of your effort into making sure that it's the best experience for them to learn and grow with.
Oh, okay. Steve, get that as a soundbite. Rodrigo.
I say have fun, connecting and helping connections is fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So enjoy it. It's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, there's that joy, right? Let me just get the joy. And Kevin, what are your last thoughts?
I say just share, be human online, and don't just share your wins, but share your losses and share vulnerability so that you can build that community of other people who have the same as you and learn from each other.
Absolutely. And Kevin, we've all watched this happen for you, right? Right here, Stephanie, Stephen, we've watched you go from maybe, a few comments and a few likes to just be exploding. And I think that is your generosity of spirit, right? That's really helped you. And just, the fact that you're there to help others is just so, so wonderful, kind of the glue that's holding that all together. Any last questions from anybody in the audience? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up in the last 2 minutes that we have here.
I'd like to tell a story, if I may.
Okay, go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you very much. So I've told this story many, many times before of when I first joined the Boston startup community. So it was quite by accident that Stephanie and I ran into each other. I was at the CIC. It was the very first startup Boston. And I got into an elevator with this person who I didn't know. She was exactly as she is today. She's like, "Oh, hey, what's going on? How are you?" I'm like, I'm great. How are you? Are you going to Startup Boston Week? I'm like, yeah, cool. Come on, let's go. And literally from that moment onward, I was like almost always at the CIC. She recruited me. That's how I joined the gang. So amazing. Like, and I think that's what happens with a lot of founders in the ecosystem. Like they find somebody who is that ambassador, that champion. So I mean, maybe it's you yourself out there in the audience, but you don't have to go with this alone. Just find a buddy. We're all friends here.
Well,
All right.
I still remember that elevator ride, Steve, and I'm really glad that you bring it up so many years later and you remember it too. And I love how much our paths have crossed. You've done great things here, so thank you.
He's the glue, absolutely, in our wonderful Boston startup ecosystem. But folks, if you're in a part of the world that doesn't have this level of startup ecosystem support, remember, you can be that person, okay? Don't ever forget the impact that you can have, because think about a mosquito that gets into your room or wherever you are. They have an impact in your life. You can also have an impact on folks' lives by just taking that step, by just going out there and beginning and just doing it. I know it sounds hard, but you've got people here around the world ready to support you. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning into the Venture Forward's Building Community in a Digital World. And this panel has been extraordinary. Let's give them all a round of applause. Woo! Be sure to connect with us on LinkedIn, and please continue the conversation via the networking sessions. Mwah! To all of you.
Bye. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Goodbye.
Ending in 13 seconds and counting. Thank you, audience. So grateful that you tuned in today.
This message will self-destruct.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you so much, Andy, and everybody.
Thank you, Steve. Kevin, you're the bomb. Mwah.
Thank you, Andy.
And so what do we do now? How do I get, what happened? How do you get out?
You're stuck here forever. No, you gotta be. Shall we be redirected? Let's redirect.
Oh, do we get redirected, or what do we switch?
You can go back to, you can go to agenda. You can close out the.
There's a button at the bottom that says switch here. Is that what
switch to? Yeah, if you want to become just an audience member.
Okay,
switch
great.
to live.
Mwah.
All right.
Bye.